The conversation started in a discussion thread about evolution on a small online forum. I'd posted a question about why living organisms evolved to consume other living things, and someone responded with an insightful breakdown. Let's call him Mr. Langley, a biology teacher with a knack for explaining the complex in a way that felt intuitive. We ended up in a private chat, and Mr. Langley started with a simple question. What do you know about the origins of eukaryotic cells? Not much, I admitted. I mean, I know they're different from bacteria because they have nuclei and all those organelles, but that's about it. Ah, he said, then let's start there. The idea that life started consuming other life is tied directly to the evolution of eukaryotic cells. It's all about the endosymbiotic theory. He explained that about 2 billion years ago, life was dominated by simple, single-celled organisms called prokaryotes, essentially bacteria. At some point, one of these cells engulfed another smaller cell, but instead of digesting it, the two cells formed a partnership. The smaller cell, Mr. Langley continued, was likely good at processing oxygen to produce energy, so the host cell let it stick around, and over time, that smaller cell became the mitochondria, the powerhouse of modern cells. So it was like an early form of cooperation? I asked. Exactly, he replied. But don't forget, it's also predation in a way. The larger cell initially ate the smaller one. It's just that instead of killing it, they evolved a mutualistic relationship, and this wasn't a one-off event. The chloroplasts in plants, same story, but with photosynthetic bacteria. Okay, but that's just cells, I said. When did life start actively hunting and eating other life? That's where things get even more interesting, Mr. Langley said. As early life evolved, resources like nutrients and energy became scarcer. Simple cells had to adapt. Some started breaking down dead organic material, and others, protozoa for example, began actively preying on smaller cells. He explained that this shift to predation wasn't just about survival, it was an arms race. As predators got better at hunting, prey had to evolve defenses, which drove even more complexity. This is part of what eventually led to multicellularity, he said. Predation created selective pressure for cells to work together, forming larger, more complex organisms that could outcompete single-celled predators. So without predation, we might never have gotten multicellular life. Possibly, he said. Think about it. The first multicellular organisms were probably colonies of cells that banded together for protection. Over time, these colonies specialized. Some cells became better at defense, others at reproduction, and so on. Predation forced life to innovate. By now I was hooked. So, is that why we have to eat things that were once alive? Exactly, Mr. Langley said. It's a direct result of this evolutionary history. Living things are rich in the energy and nutrients we need. Carbohydrates, proteins, fats. Instead of synthesizing these from scratch, it's much more efficient to consume them from other organisms. He pointed out how this created the foundation for ecosystems. Producers like plants capture energy from the sun. Consumers, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, eat plants or other animals. Decomposers recycle the leftovers. It's all connected, and it started with those early predatory cells. Our chat turned philosophical when I asked, doesn't it feel weird though, like life eating life just to keep going? Mr. Langley sighed. It's both beautiful and brutal. Life is incredibly interconnected. Every bite of food you take represents billions of years of evolution. You're consuming the result of countless adaptations, struggles, and survival stories. It's a reminder that we're all part of the same system, even if it feels harsh at times. He added, "But remember, this system isn't static. Just as early life found new ways to survive, future life might evolve beyond predation. Maybe synthetic biology will eliminate the need to consume life at all. Who knows?" As we wrapped up, I couldn't help but feel a new sense of awe for something as simple as dinner. The idea that every meal connects us to a lineage of ancient cells, predatory protozoa, and evolutionary innovation was mind-blowing. Mr. Langley left me with a final thought. The next time you sit down to eat, remember, you're not just consuming calories, you're participating in one of the oldest stories on Earth,